Mike Norvell's got it rolling pretty well there in Tallahassee on the recruiting path. We got Nate Greer on the line from Knoll Game Day to help us track the 22 class here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Please like the videos, share the videos on social media, because if you like them, others will as well. And of course, subscribe, hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. Nate, appreciate you stopping by to track some of these recent commits. How's it going today?
It's going great. I appreciate you having me on to talk about Florida State and that momentum they have right now on the recruiting trail.
Absolutely.
Moving in the right direction very quickly for Florida State.
Yep. So before we get into the specific names, what do you think has been the difference for Mike Norvell recently?
I think it's just the time that's been put in with this 2022 class. Even when they arrived last year, they started offering kids in that 22 class and building those relationships. So, the thing that really stands out about this staff is their ability to connect with these recruits. And, they just go after it. They do not let up, and they are in constant contact. So I think, with a year in, with a lot of these kids, they've built that relationship and they built that trust, and they've kind of allowed themselves to prove via relationships that they are a legitimate option and are pieces to the puzzle to help get this program back on track.
I think the relationship factor gets undervalued by most fans. Because we know what the recruiting rankings are. We know what the teams did on the field in the last few seasons. And, of course, it's been a rocky ride for Florida State. Its worst run since the mid-'70s, just prior to Bobby Bowden showing up, and everything changed after that. But they obviously are doing just that and building and selling a culture to a certain extent and what the possibilities could be. So, Nate, let's go to the most recent commit, if we could. Sam McCall out of Lakeland, Florida, athlete, top 35 player, according to the 247 Sports Composite, and that's top 35 regardless of position. So he is on top of the charts. He is near the very top.
Yes, he is. I think the people were surprised when he committed, but, when he decommitted from Florida, Florida State was an option, and they've done a really good job even when he was committed to Florida, just still putting in that effort and that work to stay in contact and to let him know that even though he was committed to Florida, they were going to still recruit him. So when you look at Sam McCall, it's just another versatile piece to the puzzle. Mike Norvell and his staff, they like a lot of versatility with their players. And you look at Sam, he could play wide receiver in college. He played a lot of wide receiver last year. He went for over 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. I believe he played a lot more offense than he did defense as a junior. A lot of people are projecting him as a defensive back, but he can come into Florida State and, play wide receiver and play that well. I do agree with everyone else's projection that he's a defensive back in college. You look at what makes him stand out, top 35 is well deserved. He took 6 feet and growing, has the long arms as a cornerback. He can press you at the line of scrimmage, and he's also athletic enough to play off coverage. He can also play safety and has that range and has those ball skills in order to track the ball and make a play, and he can tackle. He's aggressive. He's just a great athlete. And when you watch him play, it's almost effortless. Kind of like Travis Hunter, who I've been pounding as the best player in the class. He's just a natural football player, and it seems almost effortless when you watch him play. And when you look at the switch to a 4-2-5 that Florida State's doing, in that defensive backfield, he's a guy that brings a lot of position versatility. He can line up inside corner, outside corner, safety, in the box. He can do a lot. So this is a great, great get by Florida State.
Yeah, I was going to take you right from McCall to the top of the board and Travis Hunter. And it brings to mind
Mm-hmm.
one of the greatest athletes to ever play the sport, Deion Sanders, of course, in the same
Mm-hmm.
colors, both sides of the ball. And do you think Florida State would use a Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, it's a fun debate when you talk about Travis Hunter because he, I think 24/7 finally admitted and nailed it that he could be the number one receiver or the number one cornerback, just whatever he wants to play. He's gifted enough to excel. Me personally, when you look at how things would unfold, I think if God forbid something happens, this is a 3-year and out guy. So when you look at projections and what happens in the NFL and all that kind of stuff, the corners are drafted higher more than wide receivers. But this guy is so gifted. I just don't know how things will go with him. I think he's too good to not play on both sides of the ball, whether that is playing corner and getting 20 snaps at wide receiver, which would be, I think, the right thing to do to get him on the field more. Or, he plays wide receiver. If you watch him play, I mean, he puts up ridiculous stats, and he's just gifted. I think he's one of the best players, Florida State's going to land in quite some time. I think since Derwin came into Florida State. And I think he's one of the best players that Florida State's going to land overall since this dynasty started. I think he's that good.
We've got Nate Greer on the line from Knoll Game Day, and we're talking about Florida State's 22 class that is a long way, obviously, from signing on the dotted line starting in December, but right now it's the number one class in the ACC and the top 10 class in the country.